October 2016, Jessica Leeds came out and had accused the candidate, Donald Trump, of grabbing her breast and attempted to put his hand up her skirt and forcibly kissing her on the mouth when the two sat next to each other on a private plane in the 1970s. Jessica Leeds says he was like an octopus. His hands were everywhere. She was 38 years old, said the years was the 1980s, and the location was a first-class cabin on a plane. Jessica Leeds alleges Trump grabbed her breast and tried to put his hand up her skirt, said the New York Times. So that's one accusation. I refer to this as a rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Ivana Trump. What's a rape? Marital rape. And so Ivana, this is during their divorce, and then after a settlement was reached, there was a non-disclosure agreement. So even Ivana Trump has a non-disclosure agreement. She's not allowed to talk about their marriage without his permission, which is remarkable. The master bedroom of the Trump Tower triplex, 1989, when she was 40 years old. In a divorce deposition, Trump's first wife used rape to describe an incident that had transpired between them. And then after a settlement was reached, the rape allegation. After a settlement was reached and the rape allegation became public in 1993, Ivana softened the claim as part of her non-disclosure agreement. So now she says it wasn't rape, but it seems like if there was an incident and then how much money did one of the children's bedrooms in Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, 1993, in the early 30s, Jill Harth said, she's in her early 30s, right? So Jill Harth said, he pushed me up against the wall and had his hands all over me and tried to get up my dress again. A former business partner, Jill Harth, alleges Trump forcibly kissed her on the lips and groped her breast and grabbed her genitals in what she referred to in a 1997 lawsuit as attempted rape. On a previous occasion, she alleges he groped her under the table during dinner with colleagues at the Plaza Hotel. He groped her under the table with colleagues at the Plaza Hotel. So the lawsuit on top of it, it makes it feel, I feel like that's good. That's a good thing. Report it. In the 20s, in the early 1990s at the China Club, a Manhattan nightclub, Kristen Anderson said he did touch my vagina through my underwear. Kristen Anderson alleges Trump put his hand up her skirt and touched her genitals through her underwear. Trump stuck his head right underneath their skirts. Lisa Boyne, age 25, 1996, at a New York restaurant. Lisa Boyne said that Trump insisted the female models walk across the table so he could look up their skirts and commenting on whether they were wearing underwear and their genitalia. So he went for it, right? A lot of them are saying, let's see, stuck his head under the skirts. Why would they all show their junk? And none of them says anything. They're trying to get a job. I understand that. It's weird. It's weird. It's definitely. Simple Taggart said he kissed me directly on the lips. She's 21, 97. At a Miss USA pageant event in Trump Tower. The former Miss Utah alleges Trump forcibly kissed her on the mouth on 2 occasions, including the first time she met him. Now, 2 occasions he forcibly kissed her. Then the healer, Kathy Healer, says he took my hand, grabbed me, went for the lips. She's 44 years old at the time, 1997, the Mother's Day brunch in Mar-a-Lago. So, again, Healer says the same thing. Trump forcibly kissed her on the lips. So he went for it. He needs to get slapped. A hard no. I don't want it. A hard rebuff. Needs to happen. Will he get his feelings hurt? Yeah. But if you really don't want it to happen, hurt his feelings. And I'll say more about that at the end. Okay, so putting on my dress really quick because I was like, oh my God, there's a man in here. Mariah Bellato said she's 18, 1997, backstage at a 1997 Miss Teen USA pageant. So this is an 18-year-old, and then there's a 19-year-old and another 19-year-old where they're part of the Miss USA pageant, but this is Miss Teen. Miss Teen has teen beauty queens from 15 to 19 years of age. 19, it's very close to 14, like Roy Moore. Roy Moore, who was in his 30s with a 14-year-old. So this is 1997. This is what? When he was in his 50s? When he's in his 50s, sitting there gawking at 15-year-olds? Now, it just says that he walked through. Oh, my God, there's a man in here. So that's something, right? You can't do that. That's not acceptable. Marina, Virginia said, then his hand touched the right side of my breast. So that's different. That's different than forcibly kissing, but it's still all the same, right? It's all unwanted. It's all disgusting. It's all not needed, not wanted. Then his hand touched the right side of my breast. I was in shock. But that's more of a, there's a physical thing to, there's trying to kiss him, but then there's groping, the groping and the molesting. So this is, on a different level, I think. So the Virginia said that Trump grabbed her arm, touched her breast. This is while waiting for her car after the U.S. Open in New York. So she's just waiting on a car, and then Trump grabs her arm when she's 27 years old in 1998 in New York, and then he grabs the right side of her breast. So his hand touched the right side of, so that's different, because Bridget Sullivan said the time that he walked through the dressing rooms was really shocking. We were all naked. She's 19. This is the year 2000, backstage at a Miss USA pageant. The former Miss New Hampshire alleged Trump walked in to the dressing room unannounced while contestants were naked. So several times that's been alleged. This is the Miss USA pageant. They're all of age, but he still shouldn't be doing it. I guess I'm thinking about, is there a crime? They're definitely, it is a crime. It is a crime, but I'm just thinking, like, he's the owner of the pageant, so he thinks that he can kind of get away with things like this, and that's sort of the, if people can fuck a person's life over, then good, but if you can't fuck his life over, then we're just going to be like, well, what can you do? C'est la vie. No, a crime is a crime. So just like the criminal justice system, you put in a complaint, and then you go. Former Miss Arizona alleges Trump entered their dressing rooms while her fellow contestants were half naked. Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked, changing into our bikinis. She's 19, the year's 2001, backstage at a 2001 Miss USA pageant. All of a sudden, I felt a little grab, a little nudge. Melinda McGillivray. She's 23 years of age, the 2003 at Mar-a-Lago during a concert by Ray Charles. McGillivray alleges Trump grabbed her buttock in a pavilion behind the main house in the middle of a group of people. So he grabbed her butt. And so that's a punch, right? That's a punch in the chest, and stay away from that man and say, don't you dare do that again. You say it strong, you say it loud. And hopefully we live in a society where we're, that will be listened to. So, a contestant on The Apprentice alleges Trump forcibly kissed her after a job interview. Jennifer Murphy, I was thinking, oh, he's going to hug me, and when he pulled my face in and gave me a smooch, I was like, okay. So she's acting like it was weird, not a crime. Like, he was going to give me a hug, and then he kind of gave me a kiss, and I was like, oh my God, weird. She's 26 years old. This is 2005 outside an elevator after an interview. The former contestant on The Apprentice said that, if he forcibly kisses or if a man goes in, I think you could smack him. You can hit them and say, and if there's, people around, even though it's not a woman's fault or puts herself in a sort of a vulnerable position, the court of law, I always think about how a court of law looks at things. So if there's just two people in a room, Rachel Crooks, she's 22 years of age, 2005, outside the elevator in Trump Tower. He kissed me directly on the mouth, so another forcible kiss. I turn around within seconds. He's pushing me against the wall, forcing his tongue down my throat. Another forcible kiss, only pushing against the wall, which, in Hollywood, that makes it more, of a turn on. Natasha Stoyanov, this is in a closed-door room in Mar-a-Lago, 2005. She's 40 years old. So forcing this tongue down my throat, I mean, don't that feel gross, slimy, and disgusting? It's not sensitive. It's not warm. It's just, just barbaric. And it's got to be like, ugh. Trump stood right next to me, and suddenly he squeezed my butt. Another butt squeeze. This is outside the Ed Sullivan Theater before appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. This is 2006. This would be when Franken, this 20-year-old Nina Laxonen, 2006, outside the Ed Sullivan Theater before The Late Show with David Letterman. So he is so brazen right before he goes on, in front of the world, he just sexually assaulted a woman. Now, the former Miss Finland alleged Trump grabbed her buttocks during a photo shoot before an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. Again, over and over again, I hear about what he does. I don't hear about how they object, how they say, don't do that. How dare you? No, don't do that. When we entered the room, he grabbed each of us tightly in a hug and kissed each of us on the lips without asking for permission. Jessica Drake said this. She's 32 years old, 2006 at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. Drake alleges Trump forcibly kissed her and two female friends on the lips, and when rebuffed, pursued her, asking how much. See, Nikki Glasser went on Howard Stern's show. So Howard Stern's show is all about judging women like meat. So this is, a lot of the stuff he does, it's gross and disgusting. It borders on the line of criminality, but I can't be for sure if it is. So here you're going to hear Miss USA in the 2006 pageant, age 20, the former Miss North Carolina alleges Trump would barge into the pageant dressing room and inspected women like meat. He said he would step in front of each girl and look you over from head to toe like we were just meat, like we were just sexual objects, that we were not real people. So that is uncomfortable. That's disgusting. But is it illegal? He looked at, the girls. This is Miss USA, so they're adult females, from head to toe, like they're meat. So gross, disgusting. Is it a crime? Samantha Holvey doesn't say anything about whether she was clothed or not, if she had any clothes on. So this is, it's a weird catch-22. You're trying to dress up to be beautiful, and a lot of times it is very superficial. All the people are just waiting for the great answers, that beauty pageant answers are going to, how great they're going to answer these questions. That's what people just judge them based on their confidence and their politics and whether or not they care about others. So it's a superficial process to begin with. They don't deserve, nobody deserves to be treated uncomfortably. So I'm gonna get to and see two more things, and then I'm gonna get to my commentary. Then he grabbed my shoulder, began kissing me very aggressively, and placed his hand on my breast. So there's a forcible kiss there. Smack him and say, "Don't you dare do it." Now him grabbing, him putting his hands all over the place. You got to, fight that. You got to speak loudly. Zervos said that he did a forcible kiss. He grabbed my shoulder. Malcolm X says, if you ever someone lays their hands on you, you send them to the cemetery. Charles Manson acted like if he could ever just touch your nose, then he could, rip your throat out. So he says if he could put his hands on you, then he could kill you. And so Malcolm X, if someone lays their hands on you, you send them to the cemetery. So everybody just, Donald Trump, stop putting your hands on people that don't want, your hands on them. He then grabbed my shoulder, began kissing me very aggressively, placed his hand on my breast. The former contestant on The Apprentice, so this is The Apprentice. He's like an executive producer. He accused Trump of groping and kissing her on 2 different occasions. She filed a defamation claim. So it makes me feel better if they did file some sort of, claim or something. He probably doesn't want me to tell him the story about the time he continually grabbed my ass, invited me to his hotel room. This Cassandra Surlays. She's 24, 2013. So this is 4 years ago. Miss USA 2013 pageant, the former Miss Washington 2013. In a comment on Facebook that Trump repeatedly grabbed her buttocks and invited her to his hotel room. So repeatedly grabbed her butt? Repeatedly. Now, if he owns the Miss USA pageant, what are you supposed to do, right? If the owner, you can rebuff him. I think you could say something, if anything, he's in a position of authority, he's in a position of power. That's sexual harassment. If you say, no, I don't want that, and then he, turns around and then uses that against the person, that's sexual harassment, sexual assault. So the fact that she says repeatedly, how could you do it repeatedly? If you do it once and you said, no, absolutely not, he doesn't do it repeatedly. So I feel like if America is actually set up the way that I want it to be set up, first off, no means no. No means no. Let's keep all of our hands to our damn selves, okay? Keep our hands to our damn selves. This is a good cultural moment. Stop the sexual harassment. Stop the sexual assault. Seems simple enough. We have a commander in Queef, a bullshitter in Queef, who has gotten away, 17 accusers. He's gotten away with it. Now, keeping your hands to yourself, that's a rule for everybody, including Selena Gomez. I know you say you can't keep your hands to yourself, but no, even the Selena, keep your hands to yourself. Tiffany Haddish said if she takes off her clothes, that's the go-ahead. When the woman undressed herself, when she took off her own clothes, that feels like a good rule of thumb. The Tiffany Haddish rule. The Tiffany Haddish rule is, unless she's completely naked of her own body, is worthy. Everybody has dignity. Nobody deserves to be treated in a bad way. I've had two experiences. I have been a victim of sexual assault and sexual harassment. And even, I can understand what all those women went through. At first, I feel like in hindsight, it was when I went to the authorities that made it worse. If it was just between me and her, there was a female professor in her own office, Terry Schoon, and then Elizabeth Rogers had covered this crime up. So I was making up an assignment. I'm in her room, in her office. It's just me and her, and I'm sitting in her seat and on her computer. She keeps leaning into me, and she keeps just, lightly brushing my leg, just lightly touching me, lightly brush. And I didn't say nothing. And it went on, for the 30 minutes. And then eventually I just, okay. 2012, at the end of 2012, I got raped on December 7th, I think, in the beginning of December 2012. And then the sexual assault would have been in the springtime, 2013. So Spalding University, it happened to me. It was humiliating. It was embarrassing. And then when I went to the authorities and I said something about them, they didn't believe me. They acted like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, sure, whatever. Just you could see that, on their eyes just glossed over. And that's the thing, is that people don't give a damn. The authorities didn't give a damn. So if anything, I felt humiliated more so once two other people knew about it. There was a man, the dean, and Elizabeth. So once I told other people about it, and then they just shrugged their damn shoulders about it. Now I had two people who knew about it, knew that I was powerless, and they said, we're not going to do a single thing about it. That was the initial reaction, and the people, the authority, the man, he said, okay, so, you're a big, strong man, so when she was sitting there touching you, how come you didn't say, don't do that? How come you didn't say anything? Well, I was shocked. I was paralyzed, but this is in Spalding University. I was there for teacher training, so this is me as an adult in my 30s with a bunch of other adults. But guess what? Even in teacher training, they're all about oppression. Shut up. They treat you like kindergartners. They don't want to hear you. It doesn't matter that you're an adult and you've been on this planet forever. You're still a child to them. So it felt just as creepy. It was creepy and gross in her classroom, even though she wasn't, breathing down my neck and rubbing on my leg. It was just as creepy when there's only 6 of us and she's got this microphone and just walking around like a rock star. It's like, even when there's only 6 of us, we're not even human then. We're not even people to these people. I think it's weird. I think it's weird that you have all these adults and they're all being treated like kindergartners, and eventually I would submit along with them, because why do I have to be that guy? I always got to be the one that turns around and say no. And then, because I believe in dignity, oppression, I naturally repulsed against oppression, but all the other adults went along with it. So in their minds, they're thinking, if we accept this bullshit now, then we can just put this bullshit on the students in the future, so bullshit just goes downhill. I thought it was weird. I thought it was creepy. But the point in mentioning that is that I was taught to be submissive. I was taught to shut up and sit down and just to be obedient. That's what they want, to teach like a champion 100%. You got to smash their humanity. So our school system, just like our prison system, is actively hurting people. They're hurting people. So when I'm in her office and she's rubbing on her leg and I'm trying to get this missing assignment done so I get a decent grade, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, ultimately, I've learned that it's their shame and it's not mine. It was humiliating. It was embarrassing. If I could have graduated, I think I could have ignored the whole situation and just gone on. But they started messing with me, and I was like, this thing happened, and they're like, oh, who gives a shit? And the same thing happened to me in a Louisville jail. In a Louisville jail, there's going to be a rape that happens by a Louisville jailer. And then when I went to go complain about it, they acted like they were going to kill me. Like I was going to get disappeared. I was going to get taken into the back room and nobody would ever see me again. And so a jailer can rape me, and that's acceptable. But if I say, hey, don't rape me, and I stand up for myself, and now it's his word versus my word. There's video cameras all over the place in the jail. But Jack Conway, the attorney general at the time, said that you couldn't get that tape because if you get a tape of the jail, then you might find out how to escape. They might use it to escape. So therefore, crime. One other time, I'm going to Malcolm X Debate Club, and they're saying, look, listen here, white male, you're on top. You have the entire society is on your side. It's on your back. Everybody's giving you a break. You don't know my goddamn life. And no, none of you motherfuckers have given me a fucking break whatsoever, okay? I did get raped. I did get kicked out, and it's because I speak up for fear. It's because I can't just go along with the flow. I just can't, so nobody gave a shit. Okay, it was bad enough that the thing happened, and then when I go to the authorities, and then they're going to victimize me more. How dare you get raped? I'm going to hurt you. The only two friends, so-called friends, one of them made a joke. Did you like it? The other person said, hey, come on, let's everybody talk about this, have a good old time. And then that almost instigated another fight. Another fucking big dude's coming over and is like, wants to fight. Oh, you got raped? Now I want to fucking fight you. You're making me give a shit. Other part to it was after this had happened, they're telling me I don't feel on top. I very much feel on bottom of a poor peasant. I'm just as likely to be victimized by anybody. And it's, okay, bullshit, whatever the fuck you're trying to say to me is fucking bullshit. But here's the honest truth, okay? They don't want to give a shit. It's too hard to give a shit. And that's the problem with our society is that nobody gives a flying fuck. Nobody gives a flying fuck. Whether you were the one that victimized me, during these times, what about the people that try to pick, what did you do? How did you help me? America, the United States, everybody in this country. How did you help me? The authorities didn't give a shit. They acted like they was going to hurt me and, murder me. Murder me because they raped me. They raped me, now they got to cover it up by murdering me. And I'm supposed to accept that bullshit? I'm supposed to say, yeah, God, I'm on fucking top here. Oh, man, this is just a gravy train. God, what a nice country. You get raped. Spalding University is. That's who Spalding University, that's who Louisville, Kentucky. Now, is it fair to say it's everybody's fault? No, but where are the good people at? Where's anybody that say, if that nobody listens to you, they pick up the pieces? I bet you somebody listened to these women along their, maybe they didn't, and maybe they didn't. And if that's the case, then that means we're on the same page. Me too. This happened to me too. And nobody gave a shit. And if you're going to sit there and say only the women need to be protected and none of the men, that's what y'all been saying to me my whole life. I've had violence as a child, violence as an adult, and at no point in time does anybody say that it's not good. It's not right. I want to live in a culture that honors my life. I want to live in a culture that honors and is committed to me having a good life and for me to be happy and for crimes to not happen against me. I don't go around hurting people, so why do I deserve to be innocent? Kills the soul. So that's what I wasted 2 years, $60,000 to pay them to help me become a teacher. They didn't teach me my craft. They just taught me to be an oppressor. They oppressed me for 2 years, made me more of a nervous wreck, and I'm being obedient. I'm getting robbed. They're molesting me, and I just wasted $60,000. And nobody gave a shit. Nobody, even today, nobody gives a damn. I want to live in a society that honors freedom and dignity where we give a shit about each other. And I want you all, every single one of y'all to be committed to my life just like you're committed to every other person's life. Nobody deserves to be assaulted. Nobody deserves to have violence put against them or rape or murder or to be, to have their stuff stolen. We all should have a fair shot, the same equal opportunities. But I want you to commit to my life. Because my life matters. And I've had to tell myself that because nobody in this planet, nobody in this entire society Just explain to my feelings on the subject matter. Me Too. The problem with Me Too is that nobody listened. That's what the women of Me Too is saying, that they said this stuff happened and nobody listened. So that means we just need to have a justice system that listens, that pays attention to the thing. There's sexual harassment. When you have a position of power, you can't say you're going to have sex with me or else you're out. And then there's sexual assault, where you just go up and you forcibly kiss somebody. You're just groping on them. That's sexual assault. So these are, these are crimes. These are crimes that could go through the judicial system, and the judicial system begins with a complaint. And then the whole judicial system, if it goes the way it doesn't, it goes with the wealthy. But if the judicial system was a non-biased third party that tried to resolve disputes, then that would be the place that we would go. The accusers have rights. The accused have rights. There's due process. The presumption of innocence is there. Now, experiences was when I spoke about it, even my friends didn't give a goddamn. They didn't give a shit. Nobody in their mind, when I said this thing's happened, hey, why don't you report it? You don't deserve to be a victim of crime. Report it. Say something about it. I need to live in a society that is committed to my life and to my happiness, and to making sure that I'm not a victim of crime. I don't live in that society. When I told the authorities at Spalding University, when I told the authorities of Louisville, Kentucky about the jailers, it seemed like they were delighted by the experience. The guy in the jailer, he couldn't wait to talk to me. Actually, I locked my keys in the car because he was calling me as I was walking. Are you coming? Are you on your way? I'm here. I'm waiting for you. I can't wait. And he didn't listen to me at all. He pretends to tape record it, and he goes, well, what if I say you're a liar? What if I say that everything that you said was a liar? And I was like, well, if you think I'm a liar, then you should arrest me, but I'm not lying. And then he was like, I'm gonna nail you to something about throwing my ass in jail. What America has loudly said to me over and over again, I don't care about your life, Jonathan Masters. We don't care about you. We don't care if you're a victim of rape. We don't care if you're a victim of violence. We don't care if you're a victim of murder. We don't care about your life. Fuck your life. And so if that's how these women who went through this thing, how they felt, and people, they try to talk about it, and everybody's making them feel like they did something, or making them feel ashamed, and not listening to them, and not being committed to their life and happiness, and making sure they're not victims of crime, I feel you. I feel you. And I don't like it. There was a boy, I remember, that said he was going to kill himself on Twitter about 400 times, and nobody said a word about it. That's America. That is the United States of America. Dog eat dog, a bunch of fascist psychopaths. Nobody gives a damn. Dog eat dog, get whatever you can. If somebody, oh man, it sucks to be you. That's a nice little phrase in America. It sucks to be to go on. It took me 4 years to get a trial for police brutality, a federal lawsuit. My lawyer wasn't committed to the case. He fell onto the thing, but piece by piece they picked away at me until eventually I lost. At no point in time did anybody in any of this, any of the passerbyers, any of the authorities, none of the people gave a shit about my life. They never gave a shit about my dignity or my happiness or anything. And that's the fucking problem. This makes me reevaluate my life, and I would also think that all the victims of Donald Trump, they would have reevaluated their lives too. Maybe not. But it made me think that I don't live in a society that thinks that rape is a crime. They don't care if violence happens to me, if rape happens to me. They don't care if I get murdered. They don't give a shit. That's the society I live in, for better or worse. And so what does that mean for me? That means for me, I've committed to myself that I matter and that this shit's not going to happen again. Women, it was white women jurors. So apparently white women in Louisville, Kentucky don't understand that cops can just beat you up for no reason. They're undercover, they're wearing plain clothes, and they can just attack you. So if I'm a police officer, I'm allowed to sit on the corner of a street, I'm allowed to attack whoever the hell I want to attack, beat them up, smash their face in, throw them in jail, and then have them get raped in jail. The white women in Louisville, Kentucky, the jurors didn't give a shit. They didn't care. In the federal case, there's some men that was on it, but this is, white men, white women. Y'all don't understand. You don't realize what? If you don't have a badge and you don't have a gun, then you could be a criminal. But as soon as you put a badge on, as soon as you put a uniform on, you're incapable of hurting somebody else. You're incapable of making a mistake. They raped me, and they beat me up. And if you're in favor of rape and violence, then you're in favor of murder too. So that's bullshit. That's bullshit. I very much see myself on the... They got rid of me very easily too. Spalding University did. If they had consciences, it would bother them, but they don't have a conscience. They take drugs. They take, the happy pills. it should bother them, but I think this is a good analogy for life. So you're driving by and you see a kitten on the side of the road. It's a kitten. It has no home. You don't know what the hell's going on with it. Now, to give a damn, God, to give a damn, like, yeah, you want it to have a better life, but to truly give a damn, you probably have to act upon those impulses. That cat's out by itself. I need to take care of the kitten, right? Now, you bring it in your house. It could puke on your rug. You hang on to it for a day, then give it to the animal shelter, and who knows. But during that time, it could puke on your rug. It could pee on your couch. It's going to take time and effort, right? You could just go home and stare at the TV. Now you got to take care of this kitten, maybe feed it, clothe it, keep it warm. It takes time and effort to give a shit. It takes time and effort to give a damn. Now, you can care, but just say, I'm powerless to do anything about it. But don't give a damn, right? All that time and effort, your rug won't get puked on. You won't have to take a chance. You won't have to, take time and effort for something else. When you see that kitten, just walk on by. Just walk on by that kitten. Don't give a shit. Train your mind to walk by people that's suffering out in the streets, homeless people, people that don't have health care. The women of Iceland would never move to America because Americans don't give a shit about each other. You couldn't even pay the women of Iceland to move to the United States. You couldn't even pay them to come here because the psychopathic culture. The culture is too psychopathic. There is a rape culture here. So for the Me Too women who says not for the men, justice is for everybody. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So to assume that more nice, good men, maybe if more of the good men get raped and victimized, maybe then we'll actually live in a good society. I stole 2 years of my life. Going to Spalding University, I was oppressed for 2 years, did all the dumb, stupid shit they made me do. It didn't help me at all, whatsoever. It makes me feel more pissed off about the situation because I went through the motions. I did what I was asked of myself, but every once in a while I would ask a question, hey, what if none of this is right? I don't like to be told what to do. I enjoy my freedom. Shut your mouth, do as you're told. And then, hey, I got raped. Oh, who gives a shit? Hey, you got molested. I don't give a shit. We taught you to shut up, sit down, now do as you're told. 60 grand. And then the other case, the police brutality and the jailer rape, that stole 5 years of my life. And to white women at Spalding University, to white men in Louisville, Kentucky, they wanted to injure me further. They wanted to disappear me. I very much felt like I was going to get killed. They raped me. Why I mentioned the white women, because they weren't oppressed. They were the oppressors. There was the same thing at the Malcolm X debate club at the University of Louisville. They're getting paid by the rich white male establishment, and they're the ones who are oppressing. They give give me a pedagogy of the oppressed, and I'm reading it. You're the oppressors. I'm the oppressed. I'm very much on the side of the oppressed. So those white women didn't seem oppressed to me. They didn't seem scared to death. They didn't seem like they were living in a culture and a society that didn't give a shit about their lives. They didn't, that's my reality. They seemed happy, rich, powerful. They lived in a whole other world than me. They were safe. In fact, they had so much safety and freedom that apparently they couldn't even believe that when men put on a uniform, they could attack other men for no reason and then rape them, and they can ignore it like it's nothing. They ignored the violence. They ignored the rape. My thing is just, justice. I'm in favor of justice. Murder, rape, violence, stealing, these are the worst crimes in society. This, in a war society, in a society that blindly endorses cop violence, no matter who they shoot and kill, we're just going to be backing them. That's the death penalty. They've just ended that chapter on that person's life forever and ever. Not going to investigate, not going to see if that person's life mattered. Every person's life matters. Every person's is worthy. So if a man is raped, if a woman is raped, in fact, men are the biggest victims of rape. But do the Me Too movement know that? Do they know that men are the #1 victims of rape? So if I knew that I lived in a world that gave a damn about my life, that vowed to give a shit about my life, which they have not, and they won't. And so that means it's on me. It's up to me to make sure I never get victimized ever again. These motherfuckers have a lot of, questions when it comes to culture. Being American, there is no actual set standard for saying hello, for saying goodbye. I like it to just ghost. If you're at a party and then you just, you don't want to be there, you just leave. You don't have to say goodbye to anybody. So there's no set standards. There's no set culture, decorum. Bar mitzvah, Jewish people, when you become an adult, there's that's a huge milestone to become a man, to become a woman. to court. How do we court each other? How, right now the most sophistication that you get is take a picture of your genitalia and you send it to each other, then you have sex. That's the hookup culture. That's what we're doing now. That's how we're supposed to court. Oh yeah, we're not supposed to, people don't want it. So the thing is, being in America, is we just don't have, those discussions. It doesn't seem like we have cultural norms. In a Chinese study class, there was a cultural norm in China that if you're about to get raped, culture for the Chinese women was that it makes sure that rape is rape. Because rape, let's set a standard. Let's define rape, okay? That's a strange man in the alley forcing himself on a woman walking by herself at night. Right? Pulls off her clothes, sticks his penis in her vagina. Rape. That's rape, okay? Now, that's rape. Now, all the other ones are variations of rape, and they're just as wrong. But I think that it's important to, define precisely what it is that we're going through, what we're doing here. There's some women that's hanging out with the man, and they've been with them, they've been flirting with them, and it's just them two in the hotel room, and then, they forcibly try to kiss, and then they run out saying, oh my God, I can't believe this thing happened, or something happens, and they say, I can't believe that happened to me. We need to live in a culture where no means no, and when we say no, other people, the women at Spalding University seemed like they had so much power, they were baffled, in fact. The women that had convicted me of getting beat up and raped. I got beat up and I got raped, and I got menacing charge on my thing, because apparently to white women it's baffling that a man who puts on a uniform could ever do any wrong. Once you put on a uniform, then you're incapable of doing wrong. You're not even a human. To err is human, but when you put on a uniform, to the white women that had put these charges on me, menacing. I'm walking peacefully down the street, and they attack me. They jumped out of their car, and they beat me up. Menacing. So apparently for white women in Louisville, Kentucky, the authority, the system is so protective of them. It is such a good system that does such a good job that hearing about me getting beat up by these people that are supposed to be good no matter what was so baffling to them that clearly that had to be a lie, so fuck my life. Beautiful women have it bad. Think about the ugly women. And aren't men really just the ugliest of women? So since men are ugly women, all people are worthy. All people are worthy of dignity and respect, and nobody should be victimized or criminalized. That doesn't mean that we deserve any less respect. If beautiful women are having these issues too, then that means we're all having these issues. But that's just, we're all worthy of respect. We're all worthy of respect. And the point I want to make with the Chinese women, the cultural norm, was that it's very crystal clear where the rape was and where there isn't a rape. If you throw a damn fit and you throw, and the whole culture acknowledges this, I guess a woman could run out screaming rape, and then hope that somebody listens and somebody gives a damn. But I guess that's a crapshoot. I would, if I hear anybody saying rape, I feel I have to do something about it. I can't hear injustice. Give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Okay, everybody gets the benefit of the doubt, and let's assume that nobody's listening to anybody. We're just not listening to each other. We just don't give a shit. We just don't care. We're just too busy in our own lives. It's too hard to, take on anybody else's issues or problems, and it's just easier to, maintain your own little tiny world. The reason why I think it's important about the cultural norms, about having bar mitzvahs, to talk about courting, to talk about all these things, just hello and goodbye. There's no set rules for any of it, right? We're Americans, so we get to make it up as we go along. It's a blessing and a curse. If we don't discuss it, then there is no culture. So we have to discuss it. So if there's a rape, if there's a sexual assault, you got to say no. But the more important part of that is to be part of a culture that'll listen to you. So I haven't found that society yet. I haven't found that culture. Not yet.